Okay, so we live in a free society, but there's obviously limits about what you can and cannot do on the internet. Child pornography is outlawed. Okay, you're going to prison if you get involved in that. All right. Hate speech, it's very controversial right now. Some people will say that's my First Amendment right, and you're seeing Facebook and Twitter taking those things down, and that's controversial. Okay, but if you live in China, Saudi Arabia, they're going to tell you what you can and cannot look at. And if you're looking at stuff, you find a way around their filters, which young people will do, and they catch you, you are going to prison. Some places you will be whipped, flogged. It is not pleasant. All right. I remember my oldest son was getting his SAT scores, AP scores early, and I go, "How'd you do that?" And he goes, "Oh, I just went into the computer and changed this and that, and I'm in the College Board's website." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're going to jail." And he goes, "No, I'm not, Dad. Everybody does it." All right, so we have a little more freedom here than other people do. Okay? All righty. Here you can see internet freedom. We're doing pretty good. And some of you are saying, "But I can't say everything I want on the internet." The Supreme Court has ruled on that. The Supreme Court ruled that you can't go into a theater and yell fire just for kicks and giggles and people trample each other getting out. There are limits on free speech. There has to be some practicality. But you can see the lavender or purple ones, they are not free. The government's going to tell you what you can look at, and they are going to punish you severely if you find a way around their filters and look at the wrong things and get caught. Okay? Alrighty. And then the next slides are going to talk about maintaining folk culture and, maintaining some things of pop culture. My generation wants to maintain things. They're old. We're not going to do it. We're going to move on. That's you.
I think we can all agree that everyone wants to maintain the 70s muscle cars. Yeah. Okay. So, sustainability, right? The ability to carry on something. So some folk cultures are threatened by pop culture, and we talked a little bit about this already. So in Southeast Asia, or Southwest Asia, right, in the Middle East, there's traditional cultures that feel threatened by pop culture coming in, maybe a threat to their way of life, a threat to their religion. Okay, and the last slide, Mr. Wright was showing you China. Okay, and there's this idea that too much information maybe will give people too many ideas, and the government will have a hard time controlling them, and that could be a threat, maybe potentially to their traditional way of life and the way that they know, okay, the things that they can do. Unexpected interactions with pop culture. So the status of women, there have been positive and negative changes. And so one example of a positive change is that as Western cultures have spread, or as pop culture, I guess you could say, it has spread into some of these areas that are a little more folk traditional, have very specific gender roles and things like that. Women have started to gain some new freedoms. So I think it was at least in the last 2 years, women in Saudi Arabia have been allowed to drive a car. Okay? In some places, in very traditional, strict religious communities, women have been allowed to go out, without their head covering or without their whole, face covering and things like that. Okay. On the other side, when people who are staunch believers in their traditions see those traditions changing, they try to do things to hold on to them. Okay. And so sometimes that can end up in being really extreme in their behavior. So one example we talked about was dowries. And dowries, traditionally, it was the man who would give a gift to the bride's family, okay? Usually money. And the idea behind it was to show that he could care for this family's daughter, right? That he could provide for her. Okay? In the 20th century, that tradition flipped places, and now the woman and the woman's family has to promise a dowry to the man. And so what has taken place, what's happened is some of those women can't always deliver, or the families can't always deliver on what they promised. And by the way, a dowry could be anything. It could be cash, it could be, refrigerators, washing machines, cars, okay? And what we've seen, or what we've learned, is that sometimes if the family doesn't deliver on these dowries, then the woman could wind up kicked out of the house. She could wind up, homeless, that kind of thing, or even dead. Okay, from not having from not the husband not paying off. Okay, all right. So here we're looking at the Amish. So this is a folk culture in the United States. The Amish, pretty interesting. They came in a couple different waves. The first wave came from Switzerland, from Bern, and William Penn in Pennsylvania. He was offering free land, and so they came and they took advantage of that. And so Pennsylvania is a hot spot for the Amish. But then the second wave came, and they came from the Alsace region. I think it's right between France and Germany. Is right in there, and they settled, a little bit lower in Ohio. A little bit farther west. Okay, and the thing with the Amish is part of their belief system is to be very plain, very simple, to not use electricity, to not use modern machinery. Okay, and what's happened is they have had to acculturate. Okay. So remember, assimilate is when someone moves from another place and they become very much exactly like the group that's already there. Acculturate is maybe they're taking parts from that culture. Okay, so you can see, the hazard lights, the lights on the back of the buggy, but they're still driving in a buggy. Okay. All right. So the green dots are showing how the Amish have spread. One Amish tradition, cultural tradition, is to give the firstborn son his own farm. And what happens is there's been so many people that have moved into Pennsylvania, the amount of arable land is shrinking, smaller and smaller, and becoming really, really expensive. So as that's happened, the Amish have had to move to places like Kentucky, where they can get land a little cheaper and still continue their cultural traditions.
All right, so to you guys, this might be beautiful, okay? Yes. All right, McDonald's, we got a Mickey D's, we got a Subway, Dunkin' Donuts. You don't know a lot about Dunkin' Donuts. Ooh, a Denny's, I can get a Grand Slam. All right, what's a Blimpie, okay? I imagine that's a sandwich, isn't it?
It's a sandwich.
It's a sandwich,
Just
all right.
lucky.
To some of us, we see this as pollution, okay? This is like landscape pollution. If you're traveling across country, when you go into town, you're gonna see the same exact scene over and over and over again. And you're driving across America to see America, and you just see McDonald's and whatnot. A lot of us wanna see downtown Lodi, okay, if we're traveling. We go into a town and we're like, ooh, all right, how quaint. All right, so we get that we like uniformity, we get that we like the same, and it's interesting, just traveling with Coach Winterhalter when we were coaching together, he's probably 20 years younger than I am, and he would always go for corporate because he trusted it. He knew he wasn't gonna get food poisoning, where I would want to go to Flo's Diner, whoever the local person was, because I'd say, give me the local custom, and I wanted to support local businesses. Those are the differences. On the Starbucks question, I kept typing into my people, what about the pollution? All right, well, one is the sign pollution, and then the other is the fast food pollution that gets distributed everywhere. People eat their stuff and they throw it. Your generation's a lot better than mine about picking up after yourself. All right, please tell me that you're that person that picks up after yourself after you leave a fast food restaurant. All right, that you put your stuff in the garbage, okay? That's important, all right? I was gonna get into religion there, but we'll save that for the next one. Golf courses, controversial in the United States. Golfers will argue that it's good for the environment. You've got this, patch of nature, but they take a lot of water. All right, Scotland is more, they try to go for what's natural to the local fauna. They do get more rainfall than we do. But that's the controversy behind golf courses. Okay, all right. And then I love this picture. This young man, he wants to dress, traditionally. He's got the traditional cup of coffee. You can see some candles over this. I'm somewhere in North Africa, Southwest Asia. All right. He wants to go to mosque on Friday, wants a job, and then he wants to be modern. All right, and there is the dilemma, okay? All right, Dad loves checking his scores and his stocks on this thing, and he can't live without it. All right. But we're afraid of how fast things are moving. And every generation has gone through this. This is just, this is human nature, clinging to the folk culture of the past, which can be very positive, those traditions, knowing about where you came from. There's a saying, you don't know where you're going until you know where you came from. And I think that's very important. But it's also embracing, the future. How much time have I got?
Tons of time.
Okay, so a great article in The Economist this week. Sorry, my people, you're rolling your eyes. Oh, there he goes. But it was talking about the Bell people versus the net people. And I was like, what is that? Well, the Bell people were the old-fashioned, telephone people, and they want Americans to own every facet of production from top to bottom, and then we keep it all, but it's more expensive that way. Then there's the net people who are saying, no, it's a global economy, and we share ideas, and it's like, oh, the Chinese are doing better they're doing this thing better than us, then we just go out and make something better than them. We keep getting better, and with these shared ideas, the whole globe becomes a better place to live. Those are two, arguments that are going to go on. Okay, once again, please, oh, please, oh, please, go through each page. If you understand the graphs, the maps, the pictures, and the titles under them, you are golden. If you can read this review page and know everything on here, you are golden. If you don't understand something, go back and look at it again in your chapter. And then please read those PDFs. Each one takes me about 5 hours to read, type up. So, I'm trying to consolidate what the test makers are putting in their book. All right. Thank you very much.